Hey there, all things MSP crew. Today we have a special guest for a longer presentation, and this is, it falls into the category of educational content that we like to bring to the community. And of course, sales processes are one of the things that MSPs, especially smaller MSPs that are run by more technically minded owners, sometimes struggle with. So what we wanted to do was bring one of our sponsors up who is a well-known expert in building sales processes in this channel. And so today I have with me Matthew Koenig from Nodeware.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
I am wonderful like usual.
Well, I really appreciate you bringing this topic to the audience because I think it's something that it changes a lot. So obviously there's some updates and I'm sure you're going to talk about those, but it's one of those things that a lot of MSPs miss is building an actual process for sales. And a lot of times, especially when we're just starting out, because this happened to me as an MSP as well, you just go out and get business. You get referrals. You know, this whole industry was built on referrals, right?
Yep.
Well, that doesn't work quite as well anymore. And so you've got to have a defined process to make sure you are continuously developing leads, opportunities, and closing sales.
Absolutely. And having a process also makes it easy when it's defined for you to bring on salespeople at some point, or even with having salespeople. I've seen a bunch of MSPs that have one or two salespeople, but have no process. And it's just, go. And if you've got a process built down and everybody knows what their role is in that process, you're not only going to find better customers that align with what you're trying to accomplish, but you're also going to be able to provide better services, close more deals, and provide yourself with a growth engine that you don't currently have.
Yeah. And there's another point about, especially with MSPs, it seems, when you're transitioning from owner doing sales to hiring a salesperson, that a lot of your success, believe it or not, and a lot of MSP owners have imposter syndrome about this one, but a lot of the success of your sales process comes from the way you do it and the way you explain things and the way you talk to customers.
Yep.
And so putting that into a process really matters because it's what's made you successful. And so you want to can that and give it to the salesperson when you're hiring that first salesperson.
Yep. I call it unconscious competence. You
Yes.
don't realize you're doing it, but you're doing it. You're successful at it. So you have to take the time to sit down and go, okay, when I do this, what am I doing? You have to make yourself aware of what you're doing so you can pass it on to other people.
Right.
So if you'd like, we can jump in, and this is a presentation. It's a high level, right? What does a sales process look like, or what should it look like for an MSP or MSSP? And of course, there's lots more to dive into, which we won't have time to do today. And you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to discuss further if you'd like. So Nodeware is sponsoring me to do this because I'm their VP of channel sales. They're channel only, US-based everything. Continuous vulnerability management and asset inventory control, 7-year-old stable product, 7x24, new device alerts, built-in patch management remediation, and sets up in only 30 minutes. And that's it. So let's talk about the mentality when it comes to sales. I think too many people get caught up in the fact that sales is just this, if I follow the steps, everything will be okay. And I'm a drummer. I can teach someone that's coordinated to sit down and use their arms and legs to hit stuff. What I can't teach them is the attitude and the feel of the music so you can become good. And it's the same thing when it comes to sales. There's a video that Eric's going to upload later that we weren't able to play on this. And it talks about the lion mentality, and it's Ray Lewis back in his Baltimore Ravens day talking to the team. And he talks about the fact that, wait a second, the lion is the king of the jungle, but how is that possible? He's not the biggest. He's not the most ferocious, if you will, but yet he or she is the king of the jungle. Why is that? Well, it's their mentality. Nobody's going to beat them. I'm going to accomplish what I want to accomplish the way I want to accomplish it. Nobody's going to get in my way. Here are my goals. Here's what I'm doing. You know, you could walk into any room in a party and look for the biggest guy there and look for the smallest guy there. And it really depends on who radiates that mentality as to who you're going to be drawn to. It's always fascinating to me when you walk in. There could be a huge guy in there and you don't even pay attention to him. But there's this 5'5" guy in the corner and everybody's paying attention to him. And that's lion mentality. And you have to have that. So what does a process look like? Well, you got setting the appointment, doing an effective discovery. You want to do a complete assessment, presentation of results, presentation of the proposal, presentation of your project plan, and closing the deal. Now, some of these can be combined, but these are the particular steps that you want to do in a sales cycle, and we'll jump in. What's a sales process? Well, it's a structured, repeatable set of steps that your team follows in order to bring on new customers. It outlines the key activities and interactions that need to take place. So setting the appointment. First of all, you only want to meet with the decision maker. Meeting with someone else is a waste of your time. Meeting with someone that's just an influencer isn't going to help you get the deal. Fact. Don't care if you like it, factual information. The meeting should be no less than 30 minutes. Matter of fact, make it for an hour. Okay? Because you want to be able to get stuff done and ask questions and do the things you need to do. And if you're rushing yourself, you're not doing yourself or them a favor. Ask for the things ahead of time you want them to bring to the meeting. What kind of information? Are there documents? What do you need in that meeting to make sure that it's productive for both you and them? And set the stage. You're not going to try to sell anything. This is about getting to know each other and asking questions to see, are you right for them and are they right for you? Don't deviate from this formula. Sales is like dating. This is another video that I'll have Eric upload. But basically what it talks into is about relationships and how you approach things. And one of the examples he gives is you're not going to walk in on a first date and go, hi, my name's Matthew. I'm an internationally known speaker. I've been playing the drums for years. I went out to Disney. I've toured. I make $1 million. That's not how that works. You're going to take the time to build a relationship, human to human, not prospect to salesperson, in order to facilitate this ongoing piece. The discovery process. You're going to ask questions and listen, okay? You're going to write the questions that you want to ask and follow it from your notes. The reason why is twofold. One, so you don't forget it in the moment. Because I don't know about you, I've been doing this 25 years and I get excited. Or they take me left, right, and all over the place, which is good. You ask them a question and they're talking and they're taking you. That's awesome. But you're going to forget where you were at. Everybody does. And the second thing is I call it a centering mechanism. Because you're not worried about the next question you're going to ask. You can actually purposely listen, because now you can go back to your pad and you know the next question you wanted to ask. You're going to take a lot of notes. Don't just scribble stuff. Take notes. What are they saying? What are they thinking? How do you think they're feeling? Take a lot of notes. You're going to ask follow-on questions to get deeper answers. If they don't give you what you're looking for when you ask a question, don't be afraid to ask another question to get it to go deeper. You're not going to use FUD. It scares people. Okay. Here's the problem with FUD. Two things, and I go into this much deeper in another presentation, but psychologically, only two things happen when you use FUD. One, you piss them off. Meaning if you're not scaring them, you're just pissing them off. because they know you're trying to scare them. 2, you actually scare them. And if you scare someone, then they don't want to do anything because they don't want to make the wrong decision. And when they're ready to make a decision, they're going to do it with someone they trust. And guess what? They just met you. You're not that person. So you've just walked yourself right out of a sale. Also, bring stories to tell. People love stories. Psychologically, if you go back to caveman days, they were putting stories on the walls. You have a favorite TV show and a movie and books and authors and characters, and you remember it all because they're stories. Have some stories to tell. You know what the cool part is? They don't even have to be your stories. There are all these peer groups all over that MSPs belong to where you can interact and get stories to tell that aren't scary but help make your points and get them involved. Discovery questions is a type of open-ended question to make the client think about things in a certain way. And it allows them to open up and give you important information. So what are some of these questions look like? Well, first of all, you have the ideal customer profile questions. Whatever you're asking, and there's a lot you ask outside of this, your team needs to decide what are the specific set of questions as a core group that we want certain answers to gain specific insights to decide if this is a viable client or not. What are those 5 things, 10 things that they must say, have, or be okay with that make them an ideal customer for you? Otherwise, move on. Next thing, basic discovery questions. Hi, why me, why now? I get pushback on this, but you know what? Whether you called them and they chose to take the appointment or they called you, there's a reason. Why is that? That's kind of crucial information to know. Are they having a problem? Is there something they're trying to accomplish? Why are you there? Then there's the open up question. Matthew, this isn't really a discovery question. You're right, it isn't. But most people, when they're meeting with someone the first time, and especially if they don't know them, are sitting here with their legs crossed and their arms crossed, and they're like, okay, what are they going to say to me? If you look at them and say, do me a favor, before we get into anything, I want to understand enough so, I can help you. Tell me what makes your business unique. Ho. You do that with a business owner, you better be prepared for a 20-minute conversation of exactly what excites them and what makes their business unique. And by the way, should it give you some insight? Sure. But 80% of it is going to be them uncrossing their arms and legs, getting excited, getting animated, and now involved in this conversation. And they're not going to feel like all of a sudden they're just getting bombarded with questions. Now they're open to talking to you more. So what do you like about your current IT organization? If you could change anything about the way IT works within the organization, what would that be? What is your current provider responsible for? What does your organization take care of internally? What's the most important thing a service provider can do for you? What are the top 3 things you took away from your last QBR with your current provider? Matthew, why do I care? This is one I get pushed back on also. Well, I'm going to give you 3 pieces of information you're going to get out of this. 1, do they have QBRs? 2, do they attend QBRs? 3, do they pay attention in their QBRs? Because if they can tell you 3 things, then they go, they pay attention, and these are the 3 things that are most important to them. Good information to have. If I could fix one thing immediately about your IT services, what would it be? Here's the cool part about all of this. They're not going to necessarily get technical with you. And that's fine. That's not what you're looking for. You don't care about the technical part. You care about their business opinion, their thoughts, their emotions, what they think about, how they think. What are your top 3 business initiatives for the next 12 months? Would you mind if I set up a time to interview a couple or 3 of your employees that you pick? I'll give you the questions ahead of time so I can understand what they think of the current IT infrastructure and services and everything like that, and if there's ways that we can help them. By the way, I'm not saying because they say they need a piece of software, I'm coming back to you to say that. I just want to understand, are there things that can be adjusted to make them more productive and happy? Security, who's currently responsible? What are you doing proactively? What are the things that you worry about the most when it comes to security? Right there. If they say, well, nothing, that's probably part of your ICP right there. If they say nothing to this, that should be a huge red flag. Okay. What are security controls your insurance policy requires in order to pay out? If they don't know that, that's an opportunity if they do actually care about security, because they're throwing money at this insurance policy, which is never actually going to pay out if there's ever a problem. You're their hero at that point. Have you had any incidents in the past? How do your employees show that they're invested? What are the written policies? What does your accountability look like? Emotional. How would it feel if? This goes back to FUD. Don't scare them, but there's nothing wrong with saying, how would it feel if there was a breach and it led to you having to lay off half your employees? What would it look like if there was a breach and your business had to be down for 30 days? Those are questions that you're not scaring them. You're asking logical after everything else business questions, and you're putting them inside their head, not Home Depot and Target and this one. Nobody cares. If they're a 500-person company or even a 2,000-person company, they don't care about those. That's not the way they think. So you're putting them inside their head to think about these things, about their business. Follow-up questions. Do you expect me to be the cheapest option or fairly priced and the best option? Everybody goes, well, that's bold. Yeah, it is. And if they say cheapest option, do you want to continue going? Everybody gets stuck in this hole of everybody wants the cheapest price. Well, you don't want to sell on price or you lose every time, every single time. So why don't you ask up front at the end of your meeting, okay, I think I can help you. I think we'd be good for each other. One last question. Do you expect me to be the cheapest option? If they say yes, you have some decisions to make. Also, who else will decide if we're right for you? Not who else is involved in the decision process, who signs the checks or whatever. I don't care about that right now. I want to know who else will decide if we are right for you. That could be a tech. That could be their director of HR. Okay, that has nothing to do with the checks being written. That has to do with who needs to be comfortable that you're the right IT organization. Do you want this client? After all of that, you have a decision to make. You have your ICP questions. You have your answers to the other questions. Is this a client you want? If not, walk away now. Don't waste your time any further. If they don't meet the criteria that as a group you set, this is the time to say, you know what? Not going any further. Sorry, we won't be a good fit. Explain the process that's next and get buy-in. Ask what issues they can foresee in getting this done, and send a copy right there of your legal documents to have them start to review so it doesn't hold up the sale at the end. And what is this process? Well, the next thing is you're going to do a very thorough assessment, because you can't believe what they tell you. They don't know. I'm not saying they're lying. They don't know. Trust, but inspect. Make sure to look at the technical. Pay special attention to the things they stated that they did not like or thought needed to be fixed. Talk to some employees. And take your time and do it right. This isn't throwing rapid fire tools out there and you're done. Okay? Not that I'm making fun of rapid fire tools. That may be a great part of the assessment. Okay? You want to truly understand, what does their environment look like? What's going on? Okay? Based on the things they said they don't like, what could possibly be causing those problems? And again, you want to find out from some employees at this point what their thoughts are, what they like, what they don't like. This isn't meant to get it done in 4 hours and be done with it. If the client can't accept that, then again, are they the right client? if they won't let you do your appropriate due diligence. Next is the results meeting. Always present to the decision maker and no one else. I've heard so many times of an MSP doing an assessment and the decision maker said, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to be there, so talk to Bob. No, Bob can't make the decision. No, I will not talk to Bob. Please let me know a time and date you're available. And again, let me be clear with this. The decision maker says, I don't want to be there. You don't move forward. But now, as I said, you're going to present this process up front before you do anything. And you're going to explain to them that they need to be available at the results meeting. Can they commit to that? Talk in terms of business impact, not technology. They don't care. If they say their email's not doing blah, 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 they don't care about the fact that the server needs more memory, et cetera, et cetera. They care about business impact. What did you find that will impact their business, not the technology that needs to happen to fix it? Make sure to specifically, of course, talk about the things that they said were an issue to them and line it back up. Tell a story of how you did this for someone else and how it became successful. Explain the things you heard from employees and how you think you can add value and fix some of it and what the ultimate business impact would be. I can make them 50% more productive because what I found is blah, 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 blah. Ask what else they'd like to discuss. After there's anything at this point that would keep them from moving forward. Then set the proposal presentation. Yes, Matthew, you're crazy. No, you're going to have another meeting. Okay? You can't possibly present the results and get feedback from them to put together an effective proposal until this happens. So you're going to set a proposal meeting. And once again, the decision maker has to be there. If they're not going to be there, stop. Notice any of these things. And again, you're going to get commitment up front. But let's say something happens. Okay? Stop. Stop. Because you're not presenting to the right people, and all you're doing now is going through the motions. You're not actually in a sales cycle anymore if the decision maker can't be there. Do this in person wherever possible. I understand sometimes you're taking on remote customers and it can't be physically in person. That's fine. However, I love it in person because you can see body language. It's hard for them to be doing other things and paying attention to other things. Do not ever send over the proposal first. Okay? Don't do it. You know why? Now they've looked through the proposal. They've cut out everything they want to cut out. They've looked into the pricing. They've formed an opinion. And you haven't even been able to talk about how you can help them and what value you bring to the table. If you send over a proposal first, you lose. Done. Every time. Review the proposal in detail and link it back to what you talked about during the assessment meeting. Here are the things that we're going to be doing on an ongoing basis that's going to help address these things. Furthermore, we're going to be able to address, and that may be your basic MSP services. Okay? Talk about how you will make sure these do not become issues in the future. Again, don't talk technical. I'm going to be able to take your email, speed it up effectively, where emails are now seen within 5 minutes as opposed to 20 minutes. This will effectively, they don't care about the fact that you're putting in new software. Well, in email they might, but you get what I mean. Talk about how you'll have regular communication with them and what they can expect. Use a visual, but do not use PowerPoint. If you use PowerPoint, I guarantee what they're going to do is go, oh, great, another paragraph. Because they see it constantly. They're in meetings about finances and about products and about everything. And everybody's using PowerPoint. And they're done. They're going to phase out on you and not want to look at anything or hear anything else you say. Come up with something better. Project plan. When will onboarding happen? When and how? What projects are you going to address first? Hint, what the decision maker said bothers them the most were things you found out from the employees. How long will it take? And what will each one cost if not part of your overall services? So you may say, look, my MSP package is $2,000 a month. Included in that will be this. That's fine. Then don't associate a cost with them. Please don't associate a separate cost. If it's included, just talk about the projects, the order you're going to do them in. Okay. Obtain commitment to meet after each project to confirm and gain signature from the decision maker. Aha. Matthew, that's ridiculous. That takes extra time. That's whatever. Yep, it does. But if I had a dime for every MSP I talked to that hasn't talked to the decision maker since they signed the contract, I'd be a very rich man. What you're doing by doing this is, one, they're getting to know that you've done the work, right? Because the best MSP is one they don't know is there. This is your opportunity to show them, hey, I completed this project. Okay, here's what we did. You should see the following results from it. They're getting used to meeting with you. So the cool part is, by doing this, you're creating a pattern. They're meeting with you and they're understanding you're not trying to sell them every time. You're not trying to talk them into something every time. It's a meeting to convey information to make sure everybody's on the same page. So what are you doing? One, you're showing them what you've accomplished and in what time frame. Two, you're setting them up for those QBR meetings so they attend. Because if they like you and they understand you're not trying to sell them every time and you're just trying to show them what you're accomplishing, there's a much better chance they're going to show up for QBRs because they're going to want that information and they're used to getting it now. And then you're going to ask what they like so far about the whole thing, the proposal, everything. What do you like so far? Why do you ask that? Well, because last time I checked, when I start thinking about things that I like, endorphins start to create. I start to get happy. So when you ask somebody what they like about something psychologically, they start thinking about what they like about it, which makes them happy, which makes them realize, wait a second, I like this. This makes me happy. I should do this. Seal the deal. You're going to review at a high level everything you just talked about. You're going to review the process of how you came to your conclusions. You're going to review, and by the way, this does not have to be long. You're just going to say, we did the assessment, we talked to employees, blah, blah, blah. Review what they said and what they said they liked throughout your process. Okay? The comments they made that were positive. Let them know that based on everything you've talked about, when you can start, and is there any reason that would stop you from being able to start the work on that date? Now, and only now, pass the document or send the email with the electronic signature and shut up. That's it. Shut up. Let them think through this. They know this was a closing meeting. Okay. They knew that you were going to close them. Okay. And if you're not sure if they knew, you can tell them ahead of time. By the way, if you like everything, I'm going to try to close the deal. I know that sounds stupid, but guess what? I've done it all my life, even in enterprise deals. By the way, on this meeting, if you like everything, I'm going to ask you for the sale at this meeting. And then don't leave without signature, even if electronic. And what I mean by that is if they say yes, okay, there's no, but I need to book. You sent the stuff ahead of time for them to look at with their legal. That's why you did that. So even if it's electronic, you send the document over and you have them sign it before you leave. Worst case scenario, for some reason that can happen, you calendar. Notice what I say, calendar. Right there, accepted on the calendar, the appointment to get it done. You don't follow up when they say follow up with me. If it's important to them, and if they mean that they're ready to do it, they will have no problem putting 15 minutes on the calendar for you. Objections. Usually only 3 things: price, time, and trust. If they're still talking to you, then they're still interested. Always answer an objection with the questions. Your price is too high. Well, why do you think that? I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to start going, oh, okay, well, I can do this. No, you devalue yourself. You're going to look at them straight in the face and say, why do you think that? First of all, how many times do you think they've been asked that question? Not a lot. 2, if someone asked you that question, what would you say? You'd actually have to say something. You just made a statement. I asked you a question. You can't sit there and just look at me. And if they look at you after all this, everything you've set up along the way, okay, and you say your price is too high and they go, well, it is. Well, then you did something wrong during the process. Something's not right there because that should have come out a long time ago. Remember, do you want me to be the cheapest or do you want me to be a fair price and the best at what I do? I'm still talking to others. Again, you should know this. But if you don't, what do you think I do not provide that the others do? I'm not ready to make a decision yet. Again, you've set this up the entire time. So I'm throwing out possible objections, but this should not get to this point. When we first talked, you stated that you wanted to address blah, blah, blah within this time frame. Has something changed? Notice these questions do not give them the ability to wiggle out of something without giving you information. You ask someone, has something changed? They've got 2 ways to answer. No, it hasn't. Okay, well, then you just said you needed blah, blah, blah. Or, yes, it has. And what it is, because if they just say, well, yeah, because they look really stupid just saying that, not saying anything else. That's it. That's my simple guide to MSP process 101. Now, is it perfect? Nope. Are there other things that you can add to it? Yup. However, this is meant to be a high-level overview of what an MSP sales process, successful sales process, should look like. I've used the same one many times in my career, and I hope it's useful to you. And if you have any questions about it, or you want to understand something, on a deeper level, you are more than welcome to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to discuss it without giving you a sales pitch, or sort of. I mean, no.
So, Matthew, I think this presentation in particular really, because you name it, MSP Sales Process 101, right? And that's appropriately what this is. This is the starting point. But I think there's a couple of things that you pointed out that I just want to kind of emphasize, and that is that, number one, you have to have a framework. You mentioned at one point, you need to actually write down your questions so that when you get off topic because they're talking, which you want to listen to because they're giving you information, but you need to bring it back and make sure you get all your questions answered. So you have those questions written down. That's part of the process. That's part of this framework so that you can be repeatable every single time. The other thing that I think people need to get out of this is that this is a psychological journey, right? And there's a couple of things that are really important when it comes to that. Number one is getting rid of any uncertainty. And you dialed into that a lot of different ways and a lot of different times. But one of my favorites is the way you set expectations for letting them know towards the very beginning what this sales process is going to look like. Mm-hmm. Because too many times I've had situations where uncertainty killed the deal. Yeah. And I've just seen it way too many times for that to be just random, right?
Yeah. I mean, the reality at the end of the day is you need to ask questions throughout. And I'm not talking about the discovery questions. I'm talking about at each step. You need to check in. You need to ask them questions. And you can't ask them questions that are yes and no. You have to ask them questions where it requires them to speak, and check in. How are you doing with this so far? Can you see why we do it this way? We're excited about working with you. Do you have any thoughts right now? Are you talking to anyone else? There's nothing wrong with asking direct questions that you want answers to. You just have to do it in a way where it's conversational and it's not number one. number 2, right?
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with asking direct questions. Look, if you ask direct questions and you get direct answers, you're going to either be able to continue on happily or cut it off much sooner than getting all the way down to trying to close a deal that was never closable in the first place.
Right. And, a lot of people will balk about a process that is this intensive to try and sell a managed services contract. And, if you're selling a contract that's only $1,000 a month, maybe $2,000 a month, yeah, maybe it is a lot of work. But a key factor in that is disqualifying them quickly if they don't meet your ICP.
That's it. This is more, I would say this is at least 50% more about you knowing when to walk away without putting in more work as it is, helping them solve their problems. Because here's the thing, you want to walk away as quickly as humanly possible if this isn't the right customer.
Right.
Okay. You just want to run and go on to the next one. And to your point, yeah, it's an intense process, but it can be done fairly quickly as long as the client's available. But here's my thought process always behind a sales process. If there are 3 MSPs that come in, one of them comes in, client says, okay, I want a new MSP, blah, 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 blah. Great, here's my proposal. I don't know anything about the company. Here's my proposal. Someone else comes in and says, okay, and they do a discovery, okay? And after the discovery, they send over a copy of their proposal with all the pricing on it and everything like that. That's it. They keep going. What you're saying is you matter enough that I'm going to put in the time, effort, and energy to understand your business to see if we're right for each other. And I don't know about you, I like that. I mean, nowadays, we want the respect they give lawyers and accountants and everybody else, okay? If their lawyer says jump, they usually go how high? If an accountant says you need to do something based on your taxes, they usually go, oh crap, okay. But for some reason, when their MSP or technology company tells them you must do this, they go, whoa, wait a second. This helps create that relationship because this is very professional, just like an accountant, just like a lawyer. Now, by the way, if they have a project that they want done and that's all they want done, fine, by all means, because let's say it's a co-managed environment, they want you to come in and help with something, or they want you to accomplish something while they focus. I'm not saying do this for a project, a single project. Fine, go in, put the quote together, say, boom, we can do the project, have a nice day. You don't need to do this. This is meant on you being able to take on a long-term customer that you truly want and you want to build a relationship with, and they truly want to build a relationship with you to make sure that you have them 10 years from now. That's what this is about.
Yep. Well, Matthew, thank you so much for presenting this and giving MSPs a chance to look at what they're doing in terms of their sales process and add a more robust framework to it to be more successful at not just getting new clients, because we're, hopefully they're always going to do that, but getting new clients faster by being able to determine which ones are not the best match for them. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Nope. So if they want to find out more about Nodeware, how do they do that?
So you can go to nodeware.com. You can reach out to me at Matthew with 2 T's, .Koenig, Koenig, should be on the screen, at igicyberlabs.com. We'd love to have you. Love to give you a short demo. Takes about 30 minutes and change your life when it comes to vulnerability management.
Awesome. If you like this video, go ahead and like, subscribe, do all the things to make sure that you don't miss any of our other educational videos. Thanks very much.